much. Good evening, friends. We are at our last technical session of the day. Since morning, we are discussing many subdomains of the GST, and we are having Rajendra Bhagat sir, who is going to take the procedural and administrative matters how it is to be tackled in the GST. At the transaction level, we all know that these are the matters of routine nature that has to be handled, and there wherein we really require the help. Fortunately, we are having a very distinguished guest, and he is coming with his background. He basically joined the sales tax department in October 1998 as assistant commissioner. Presently, he is a joint commissioner of sales tax, looking after the VAT policy matters for Maharashtra. He has worked in various fields, even in VAT, like assessment, sales tax and VAT, both assessment, investigation, training, and as well as the policy matters. Most importantly, he is actively involved as a state representative in formulating the business processes of GST. So, how the business process is going to be is to be defined in GST from the perspective of government. We can have a good interaction with him, and he himself has requested that if you have all these procedural matters, if you are having any doubts, you can free to ask him, and he will be very happy to help us out. So with this, I welcome Bhagat sir and offer him a token of appreciation on behalf of WRC.
I invite Mr. Bhagat to address the session, and as you said, you are free to ask questions during the presentation as well.
Token of appreciation should have been given after the end of the session, I suppose. If you really appreciate, then the token of appreciation would have carried a more value. Anyway, it's just a joke, huh? Don't take it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Whenever I go for a GST seminar, the first and eminent question that is always being asked, whether it's really going to come. And before anybody can ask that question to me, I'll answer it, I don't know. It's really a 16 or 17, because I always describe GST as a big fat Indian wedding. Like a wedding, you have got so many members, so many players in the wedding. The uncles, the aunties, the bridegrooms, the in-laws, everyone. Like that, GST, you have got so many players. 29 states, used to be 28, now 29. Am I right? Yeah. 29 states, one big brother, union government, then small players like states, some big players, big states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, some small states, some consuming states like Bihar and Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. Then some of them are exporting states like Maharashtra, Gujarat. So they have got their own scheme or own agenda to play as far as the whole scenario of the GST is concerned. So there will be a conflict of interest between the exporting states and the importing state. So everybody has its own game plan. Everybody's interests may not be similar to each other. And that is the reason why it is being delayed. So let me make a candid confession as why it is getting delayed. Because you also know it, because why it has been getting delayed. Let's hope that probably last 16 or April 16, everything falls in line. Then probably in the winter session, the Rajya Sabha will clear the constitution amendment bill. Lok Sabha has already cleared it. So if the Rajya Sabha clears that bill, then as you know, being a constitution amendment, 50% of the states has to ratify it. So you got a little time, but let's hope that if it works in a smoother and a faster manner, then naturally by 1st of April 16, we will be in a position to say the day of light. GST, as you know, is very much essential. As earlier speaker must have told you that as far as this particular GST, the background, this, first of all, in the Kelkar committee report which envisaged what is the GST, although the task force really had given a very comprehensive type of a GST, as you know, as on date, GST is slightly truncated form. I mean, petroleum diesel or the petroleum product as well as the liquor is being kept outside the GST. Naturally, some of the areas which can come under the GST, that's what the Dr. Kelkar's report has talked about, is the electricity duty. The electricity, sale of electricity is also a sale of supply, I mean sale of goods. So it has to come. Then again the stamp duties also is nothing but a tax on the sale of land or the sale of flats also. But that is what you can say is a step forward. It can take its own time. Right now it's only the integration between the goods and the services. So when this particular report came, it actually envisaged very comprehensive type of a GST, including the electricity, sale of land and everything, including the sale of goods. But right now, as a step one, we are starting with the goods and the services. This you must take on. So basically, who are the people responsible for development of this GST? As you know, the union government, first of all, in union budget declared that the GST will be introduced from 2010. Then after the work of designing this particular GST, what will be the frame law, what will be the design of GST, was entrusted to the committee called as the Empowered Committee of State Finance Minister. That's popularly called as EC. EC is primarily responsible for designing the GST per se. All the work regarding what will be the business process, what will be the law structure, everything was given to the Empowered Committee of State Finance Minister along with the Union Government. So this is a body which is really concerned, and the only official document that is really available in the public domain is a first discussion paper that has been published on 8 November, I suppose, 8 November 09 or 010. This you must have covered why the GST is really required. It is nothing a harmonized tax structure. As you know, today as on date, the state has got its own jurisdiction, and whole of the pan India is a truncated form of a market. Whenever you supply to the Gujarat, then you will be required to charge the CST with the CFOM and all that. Then again that 2% becomes a cascading because input tax credit of 2% is available. So per se, India is being divided into various 29 parts at least. So that becomes a very disintegrated form of a market. So what will be the ideal scenario is to make the India as a one market, one single market. And how it can be done as far as the integrated or the indirect tax is concerned is to have the seamless flow of the input tax credit. That is what is imagined under the GST. And second and the important aspect is that what is the requirement of a GST? As you know, I might be talking about very fundamental things, but it's required to know why GST is really required. As you know, the excise duty, service tax and the VAT, these are the three major players as far as the indirect tax when we talk about the GST is concerned. The excise, whenever the goods are manufactured, the excise duty is leviable, and whenever the goods are sold, that excise duty forms a part of the price on which the sales tax is charged. So that's what we popularly call as a cascading of taxes. Secondly, whenever we are dealing with a service provider, and whenever you are a pure service provider, and then you purchase the goods, naturally the goods will attract the sales tax or the value added tax, of which the no input taxes credit is available. So fundamental line is that the tax is becoming the part of a price. Ideally, what is the principle of the taxation is that the tax should never form part of a sale price. The tax component and the sale price of that particular goods, or as the case may be service, should be distinct. I should know what is my tax component and I should know what is my sale price. So whenever we talk about the cascading of taxes, what it really means is that the tax is forming a part of a sale price. You cannot distinguish from that sale price what is the component of the tax. Am I right? So naturally, this particular, what are the benefits of the GST is the removal of the cascading, simplified tax, by removing the multiplicity of the taxes. As I said, these are the three major taxes that will be getting subsumed under GST. Then some of the minor taxes must have discussed in the morning, which are the taxes that are going to get subsumed under the GST and what are not going to get subsumed. So these are minor taxes also will get some type of a subsumption under the GST. And there will be a uniformity as far as the business processes are concerned all across. So today you will be required to have a different type of compliances. If you go for a Maharashtra, if you go for a Gujarat, that sort of a compliances will not be there. There will be a there will be a uniformity as far as the compliances of the business process are concerned. So that will be a great advantage. So even though you do start doing business in Maharashtra or Jharkhand, the procedure that will be followed is going to remain same. That is what we really expect, or that is what really is what we can call as a cardinal principle of the GST, is that basically it will be a tax rate which will be uniform. Probably there will be only a leverage of a band. I mean, whenever you are talking about how it is going to have a uniformity all across the country is the fundamental question. So as far as the uniformity all across the country is there, the tax rate on goods or the services will be uniform, but there will be some leverage given to each of the state, what we popularly call as a band. So every state there will be a fixed tax rate and a band which will probably will not exceed 2%. Don't take my word, but that's what that is being discussed. So everything there will be a tax rate and a band of 2% within which the state can make the changes, state or the union government. So that band will be there, and secondly there will be a uniformity as far as the business process are concerned. Basically what we really talk about the business process mainly are the registration, return and the payment. So these are the three fundamental processes which the taxpayer really need to have interaction with the state government or the tax administration. So there will be a uniformity as far as this business process are concerned. So what is really going to change under GST? As you know, state doesn't have a power to levy a tax on the services. That will be garnered after the introduction of this constitutional amendment. And secondly, the center doesn't have a power to levy a tax on the trade. So that is how these will be additional powers that will be availed by the state and the center. The set off and vice versa, service provider will get the ITC about the goods and the goods manufacturer will get the ITC about the services. This I suppose you have covered, no? This also components and all that. Constitutional amendment you have covered, no?
Yeah.
There is no reaction from you that as far as the constitutional amendments are concerned, whether you welcome that 1% levy, that is always being a very hot and debatable issue.
Do we have a choice?
Minimize the effect of the shift to back.
Huh?
Select committee said only on supply per consideration. Limited to that.
But do you really
One GST.
one GST? But it's a federal structure, so you can't help it. I mean, that is how the GST has to come. The people are saying now that will be three tiers of GST. You are talking about single. Now, as you know, the entry 52, if you have gone through the constitutional amendment bill, entry 52 will be abolished. So entry 52 gives me a power to levy a tax on the entry of goods into the local area, right? So APTRA, LBT, everything will go. So how does municipal corporations has to survive? So there is a demand now that the GST has to have three types of structures. One is the center, one is the state, third is the local body. So, just naturally, I mean, if you consider a BMC, structured like a BMC, which has got a tax revenue to the extent of 14,000 crores, out of which 7,000 comes only to the octroi. And if you take an example of a Mumbai, everything. So naturally, that is only a concept that has fallen from the air that GST should have three components. Everywhere other countries do have, but local bodies, the entry 52 will be abolished. So there will not be anything like a LPT. LPT has already gone, but the octroi will also go. So that is going to be a very major change as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned. The other states don't have that much of problem because they don't have the octroi or the LPT. For Maharashtra already we abolished the LPT. Now octroi will also go. Tax on advertisement because that will be a subsumption of the services. And 62 is the entertainment tax unless and until it is being levied by the local bodies. Lottery betting, the minor taxes that will also get. Okay. Now really comes to the business process part of it. What will be the threshold? You are free to stop me anywhere. I don't want it to be a very unidirectional flow. Because threshold and dual authority is also being covered. No reaction to that? Do you really want a dual control?
Just we don't want development has been abolished.
Huh?
Just now you told that LBT has been abolished, but due to your latest notification, the LBT has come back in a different form for the big business houses, where the turnover is beyond the threshold limit of 1 crore or whatever. So will that be there even post GST, or that will once again abolished after implementation of GST?
Right, LBT that is being abolished from this 1st August. Not 1 crore, it's 50 crore. So 50 crore and above is totally revenue decision based on the revenue, because there are only 1162 as on date, 1162 number of dealers who will be paying the local body taxes, which contributes to around 35% of the total KT to the LPT collection. So that works to around about 1900 crores. That is purely, the decision is purely based on the revenue implication. Now your second question is whether it will continue after the GST. Obviously no, because the constitution will take away the power to levy the entry tax. LPT is nothing but an entry tax. So, and it flows, the power flows through the state list entry 52. So that entry will be abolished. So I will not be in a position to levy LPT whether on rupee 1 or rupee above 50 crore. Right?
Yeah, based on Maharashtra GDP, have you calculated what should be the revenue neutral rate for SGST percentage?
SGST revenue neutral rate.
Maybe you have worked out for Maharashtra.
If I give you a finger, you will be shocked. My calculation said should be around about 16 to 17%. See, basically, right now you are getting majority of the taxes at 12.5%, right? Have you studied the IGST? You know the model, right? So as far as the CST is concerned, that will be a total loss of 8,000 crores. One. Secondly, my entry 52 goes, right? So if entry 52 goes, what will be the state burden? 15,000 crore. So 15,000 crore plus 8,000 plus small minor taxes like entertainment, this, that. So the total burden 15 plus 8 plus 2, that is 25,000 crore. Am I supposed to get 25,000 crore from the service tax? Obviously the question is, the answer is no. So what is going to happen? I will be required to increase from 12.5 to what? So let's not go into that calculation part of it. It's nothing going to happen. Because as I said, basically whenever we talk about GST, the fundamental line is that it should be common across the country. So what are my calculation? Because this 15,000 crore burden, that is very specific to the state of Maharashtra. This is not anywhere it has been, no other state is having that particular type of a burden. So whenever we are talking about the revenue neutral rate, the revenue neutral rate will not be there it would have been there, the constitution wouldn't have talked about the compensation. See, what do you mean by a revenue neutral rate? That I am getting a X amount today, it will remain the same, only thing I have to the tax rate. So, you not have to have any compensation. So, as far as revenue neutral rate is concerned, the work for calculating the revenue neutral rate is being given to a very renowned institute in New Delhi, called as the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, NIPFP, that is popularly called as. That institute is working on that. So whatever the figure that you must have read in the newspaper, that GST will have this tax rate, that tax rate, that is being calculated by NIPFP. But let me tell you one thing also, that whatever the figure that you have read in the newspaper is based on the previous constitution amendment bill. Because they have not considered that 1% now. Whatever we are talking about, the 1% that will be levied in addition to IGST by and retaining by exporting state was not being considered when that figures were published, like whatever the figures that we must have in mind, whatever you must have read in the newspaper. So they are again recalculating that particular revenue neutral rate, and that I suppose has to be less, because this 1% calculation will go in the state exchequer. So that again will naturally reduce the revenue neutral rate. Yes,
Can I ask a question? So the industry has been opposing to that 1%
not only on goods but it should be levied on services also. So as a tax administration, you should appreciate why it has come. Right? So the basic fundamental is why this 1% additional levy on the IGST by the exporting state. As I said you, Maharashtra, as far as Maharashtra is concerned, we garner around about 8,000 to 9,000. This year we will be garnering around about 9,000 crores on account of the central sales tax. Equal amount, 3 states, it's a major problem of 3 states. Gujarat, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. These 3 particular states contributes around about 40% of the total CST collection. So what we popularly call them as a net exporting states. So whenever the CST will go, CST will be abolished. Am I right? Must have discussed while discussing the IGST model. Huh? That is a fundamental. Huh? CST has to go. The CST, once the CST goes, there will be a backlash of 9,000 crores to the state of exporter. So the proposal moved that how we are going to compensate this exporting state, because Maharashtra, the Gujarat, they have put all this money in developing the infrastructure. So once I say that my CST collection will go, and I will not be in a position to get anything out of the production that is being done in the state of Maharashtra or Gujarat, wherein we have put a lot of money in investing the infrastructure for the manufacturing activity. So the proposal came that how we are going to compensate the exporting states. So that's why this 1% additional levy can. But you see, if you have gone through the constitutional amendment bill, probably it will not last more than 2 years. So it has got some sunset clause saying that probably it will not be lasting more than 2 years. Anything that will be going to, so why this problem is there? Try to understand, if you appreciate real concern about the state, what is happening is really that I am not in a position to know how much tax that I am going to gain out of taxation of a service. Right? So as I discussed, what the state is supposed to gain when the GSTs come? It is nothing but the power to levy the tax on the services. Services, as you must be knowing, is a centralized levy. Today you can have only one registration and pay for all the across the services that are being done in the state of, or not state, in the India. It's not being bifurcated as how much of the services that are being created in Maharashtra consumed in Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, anything. So my fear is that I am not in a position to know the exact amount of service tax that I am supposed to collect when I will get the power to levy taxation on the services. So that particular insecurity has driven me to take some recourse, because the bottom line is money. State cannot run without money. So the bottom, if I am not very uncertain about what are my gains or what are my revenue gain after the introduction of GST, that's why it's only a safety measure. It's only a safety measure for, it will not last more than 2 years. So after 2 years, probably that 1% levy will go. That's I'm sure.
Sir,
Non-conduct is, there's a distinction between goods and services created because of this. So how do you handle that? Maybe it's just for 2 years, but then
Very rightly. So that's what I said early in the beginning. So you can accept my proposal, start levying 1% on everything.
if there is a
Not only on goods, not only on services, not only on, now they are state ki there will be only a change as far as the only, with the consideration. That means branch transfer will not be levied for this 1%. So remove that also.
So if there is
Let's
so
see.
much of worry on the collection, we are saying that after GST there will be a lot of people will be under GST coverage and the collection should improve. So is that point we are not considering in this collection this thing?
Probably what you are talking about is a tax base. Is that right?
Correct.
Now tax base won't increase because 10 lakh is already a turnover limit that is being set for GST. If you are doing under the goods, you are registered under VAT. If you are doing purely a service provider, you are registered with the service tax provider, service tax department. If both the limits are 10 lakh only. Now, day before yesterday only the proposal has came, now it should be 25 lakhs. So the tax base will erode to an extent because there are pros and cons in keeping the threshold limit at 10 lakh or 25 lakh. It all depends on your perspective in seeing whether to exempt the small dealers or not. So probably there will not be any increase as far as the tax base is concerned. So the revenue will not increase by expanding. Expansion of the tax base can happen only when you bring tax-free goods into the taxable land. But again, that's also is a very hard decision to bring whether this basic essential commodities into the taxation sector. That's a hard decision.
So are we saying that the tax evasion which is happening currently it is going to continue?
Like tax evasion has nothing to do with the GST. Tax evasion can either be in the culture,
There are a lot of
basically-
cash transactions and all those things.
in the cash. You can't help it. When GST cannot provide a solution for tax evasion. What solution it can have? A technology. So major use of a technology can provide. But I cannot force a B2C transaction. See, as far as B2B is concerned, everything gets recorded. What you are really missing is the link is the B2C.
Correct.
Where everybody, even the buyer and the purchaser, doesn't want to have a bill. Whenever you go in a shop and if he says, I'll levy at 10% or 12.5, your natural reaction as a human being is don't give me a bill. As if you are going to save that 12.5. It doesn't happen that way. But the natural reaction comes. So that really doesn't have, GST may not provide that much of solution to that B2C transaction. But we will try to figure it out how that can be done with the help of a technology. That probably will be done.
So my question is, over here we have been told that the introduction of GST will increase the GDP by 1.5% or 2%, thereby accretion of 1 lakh crores for the exchequer every year. Now, don't you think, you say there is no tax base widening, but how does this 1 lakh extra crore come from?
There is a seamless flow of ITC. Second, exports will become more competitive. Today there is a lot of tax, that is what I said, goes in the forming at sale price. The seamless flow of the ITC, the compliance cost will be reduced, and that's why it will give a boost to the economy. That is how they have said. I am not an economist, so I cannot give a very precise answer to this. But that is what I have read. So what I can suggest you is that we'll just rush through the business process. I'll be there to answer each and every question, don't worry about it. So exemption, right now there will be a 96 commodity that has been, this is covered? So exemptions, there will be a 96 commodity as far as the VAT is concerned. That decision was being taken. That will continue under VAT. The center list, as you know, excise exemptions are based on different type of business process or manufacturing process are there. So that will also get aligned with the VAT. Merit rate, there will be a merit rate of a lower rate, and HSN code for the GST rollout will be also introduced.
Can I have a question on merit rate?
Yeah.
Like it is proposed you have 3 or 4 different types of rates on goods. So is it possible that inverted duty structure may still persist because of if the essential commodity is being charged at a premium price, sorry, a lower rate, and the inputs are at a higher rate,
Very
being standard in nature.
Where
So it might continue. And secondly, if we are having 3-4 different rates on goods, someone may say tomorrow the GST Council boss, let's have 2 different rates for services also, essential service and general services. So are these possibilities there?
Yes. Yes. But do you suggest that all the services should be taxed at, let's imagine, I mean, not quote me, but can we tax it at 20 or 25%? So we can have, I'm not saying we are going to have, but we can have 2 types of tax rates. Well, what is the distinction between the goods and the services? And why the services should be taxed at such a low rate? As far as the goods are concerned, when we talked about the total taxation on any goods are concerned, is the excise duty plus a VAT plus VAT on the excise duty, so the total comes to around about 26-27%. Plus octroi if it is there. Hopefully now we can't count it. LPT has gone. So there should not be any distinction between this. Composition scheme will be there for the small dealers as is being existing under the value added tax also. Probably the limit will be increased. Right now it is being under discussion of 75% plus 1% in totality, 0.5 plus 0.5. So that will be also revised. So probably that composition scheme will be also there. It's a very small issues, composition scheme. Interstate GST is a real.
Hello.
We have clearly at the end, sorry, but let him complete. That's my humble request. So that flow will be there. He said flow will be there.
On that particular topic you can always, right? So as far as the IGST is concerned, you have taken what is going to change, because this is how really what is going to be the very novel part of the GST. As I said, basic fundamentally why the GST is being introduced is to have a pan-India basis, pan-India market. Should the CST is only truncating that particular market, that's why the IGST, the seamless flow of the input tax credit has to go across the country. That we about that 1% distortion right now. But the principally when it started the discussion, is that IGST is nothing but a interstate, there should not be any distinction. So I want you to ask maximum question on this, because GST per se is a marriage between the goods and the services with the interchangeability of the ITC. IGST is going to be a very, very novel thing.
Sir,
Yes, please.
how the smaller trades will be benefited by the IGST?
Smaller trades,
Smaller states,
smaller.
destination, because
States.
Consuming states you are talking about. We are, see basically what is IGST? Whenever the exporting states, right now what is that? What is the distinction? You just compare with it what is happening today and how it is going to happen tomorrow. Today, if you export from Maharashtra to let's say a smaller state like Daman, okay, Union Territory, you will be charging a 2% of the CST. What happens to that CST? Nothing. It gets merged into the cost and it sells it further. Tomorrow when you are going to sell it, you will charge CGST plus HGST on the supply of that. Right? So that particular trader who has got the goods from you has got, for the time being, let's imagine tax rate at 10 and 10. It's 20%. That 20% he will take an input tax credit. Today he is not in the position to take the input tax credit of that 2%. So that 2% goes and fits into the cost price. So this 20% you can take a credit of it. So that 20% you will have a chronology of utilization of that input tax credit under the IGST. IGST, first of all, you will have got IGST liability, adjust it. If you have got CGST liability, adjust it. Whenever you sell it under the local, you can adjust it against your local liability also. So there will be a rule of utilization of the input tax credit also. So that's how it is going to help. So what really is happening? Fundamentally, if you sell it locally also, same rate of tax, Same, you'll charge him CGST plus SGST. He can take a credit whenever he is going to sell in Maharashtra. You sell it in Daman, same thing is happening. So there is no distinction between your local sale as well as the interstate. So that is how it is being getting unified, right?
Sir,
But despite CGST, you cannot adjust against the SGST. What will be happen if I have only a small trader? I don't have trade outside my state. So, but I have import from outside state. So, how can I adjust that CGST?
That's what I said. There will be a rule of utilization. If you have got a, now it's imagine that you are a pure importer and a reseller. Is that right? Importer in the sense of, okay, interested. So, if you are a pure importer and a reseller, what is going to happen? You are a pure importer, so whatever the goods that you are going to bring into the state of your state will be bearing the IGST. That particular IGST, the credit will be available to you now. That particular credit you can avail whenever you are going to sell. Whenever you are going to sell, there will be two types of liability accruing. Whenever you are going to sell in the state, two types of liability will accrue. That one is the CGST, second is the SGST. That particular IGST credit you can adjust it against this. Only there will be a, that's what I said, there will be a chronology in what manner you can adjust that. That is all. So that will be a beneficial to that particular trader. So although he has paid some IGST into the government treasury, that doesn't become blocked. You can always have an input tax credit. Similarly, in the similar manner, what is available in the state also. In the state, you are doing the same way as far as the value added tax is concerned. What you are doing, whenever you are purchasing, you have paid some value added tax. That input tax credit you are taking against the sales tax liability. In the similar manner, IGST is accrued to you. You can take that credit and adjust it against your tax liability over the CGST and the SGST. Right? Okay.
in IGST, since it's a destination-based tax, the SGST rate will be on the destination state.
No, exporting state.
It will be on the exporting state.
So destination means what? Destination means the tax has to flow to the destination. The tax liability is on the exporter. Exporter will collect it from the importer and pay it to the government treasury. Okay? So liability will be always on the seller. But what you mean by destination is that tax has to flow to the destination. Right now it is a exporting is only the originating state that is keeping. Whenever I am levying you a CST, I am levying you a CST and keeping it the state of export. Today I cannot keep that particular tax with the state of export, but it will flow to the consuming state. The tax has to flow to the consuming state. Right?
Sir, deemed exports that sales again from which are currently exempted. So what would be the position under GST?
It will go. There is nothing called as a deemed export.
And then this IGST would be payable on that, right?
Huh?
IGST will be payable on that, right?
Yeah, but you see, the fundamental is that IGST is all vatable, no?
But then my
So why I should distinguish? You only said ki why there should be a distinction between sales and services, goods hai, branch transfer hai, why we should have. In the similar way, why I should be in a position, I should go into the nitty-gritties of saying ki whether it is a deemed export, whether that form is there, whether it falls under the first limb or a second limb, why I should go into that nitty-gritties. So the fundamental, if you keep the thing, want to keep the thing simple for a taxpayer, each and every sale should be taxable. Don't give any exemption. You start with that bottom line, then you start making the things complicated. Right? You always start with a very simple line, and then you keep on complementing it. So, then nothing called as a deemed export.
because of this, my export will get costly.
Why?
But
You are going to get the refunds. You will get the refunds.
then another problem is like my working capital gets blocked up. Because
But you can always get the refund immediately in that particular month as far as the exports are concerned. For the exports, whatever the refund procedure that we are envisaged, that whenever the export is done, in that particular month only you can claim the refund.
matter of time.
No, matter of time, see, okay, your practical experience may be different, but theoretically I can explain you that as far as, see, practically why it is taking time? Because whenever the money is to go outside the state exchequer, I should be sure that first of all I have received that money. See why it is getting delayed? Because I am not sure whether whatever the refund that you are giving, what do you mean by a refund? That you have paid it to somebody. Whether that somebody has paid it to me, that thing I will be required to ensure at least. So that ensuring that particular, whether that money is really received into the government treasury, that is taking time. And the solution is only the technology. If I am in a position that now this particular your cross-checking of purchases and sales are taking place, the J1 and J2, you must be popular words. So naturally that will become faster.
One question.
Let us take an example of say product watch, for example, say, and the tax rate is say 20% in a GST scenario, where tax rate means IGST rate. Manufacturing state in Maharashtra, I am dispatching it to 5 state or rather 3 state A, B, C. In your example, we will pay tax in Maharashtra for the state A, B, C separately if these goods are going there. Now, suppose A and C has preferential rate, say 18%, 16%, and B is 20%. So, does it mean that in revised scenario, GST scenario, while dispatching, I have to maintain tax rate for all the 30 states sitting in Maharashtra while dispatching the goods in those states? No, if you are an exporter from the state of Maharashtra, what will be the rate of IGST is the rate of CGST and SGST that is prevailing in the state of Maharashtra. Whatever the importing state, what is the credit that is being available is equal to, let's say, 10% plus 10%, 20%. If their tax rate is 22%, there will be additional liability of 2% there. If the tax rate there in that particular state is 18%, you will get the refund of 2%. That is how. I mean, refund or adjust, you can adjust 20%. Okay, now how this particular IGST is going to take place? Upload, this is how the business process that is being envisaged right now. Okay, that is, I cannot say it is being finalized. There will be uploading of the sales statement, preparation of auto drafted. So whenever we are going to upload that particular sales statement, from your sales statement, there will be auto drafting of the purchase statement from your sales statement, right? Your sale will be somebody's purchase, isn't it? So that will be auto drafting of that purchase statement. There will be a mutual reconciliation between the supplier before the meaning if you are shown a sale to a supplier, then naturally it will fit into his purchase register, right? But if you are shown, you are not shown a supplier and he has made up purchases, then he will call you saying कि भाई मैंने तो आपसे खरीदी किया लेकिन आपने सेल में दिखाया नहीं है. Then naturally there will be some reconciliation. You will say कि I missed out that particular sale invoice. So there will be a mutual reconciliation between the sale and the purchase. So what is more important is only based on the sale. You can always upload your sale, the purchase annexure or the purchase register, purchase statement of the supplier will get auto-populated. Then once that particular reconciliation part is over, there will be a finalization of the sale and the purchase. From that there will be a auto-drafting of the return. So now two statements are ready, right? First of all, you have uploaded the purchase statement. You have uploaded your sales statement. Your purchase statement is getting auto-drafted from the supplier sale statement. So two statements are ready: sales statement as well as the purchase. Now, what I really want to prepare a return is to take the figures from the sales statement and the purchase statement. Auto-draft your return. The return is being auto-drafted. You will be required to add some of the fields, very few, and once that particular tax liability is being calculated, you simply have to make payment. You will be taking to the bank side. Right now, what we are doing is an e-payment. You will be taking to the bank side. You will be required to make an e-payment, and then the sting will follow to the site of our GSTN that we will talk about later on. GSTN saying that payment is being made, and that return will get uploaded. This is how the simple process as per the IGST, or for that matter, with the return process. Okay.
What about the month ends? Purchase or sale in 1 month, purchase is reflected in the next month. So how do you take care of that?
See, there will be whenever there is a sale excess to purchase, there is no issue, right? So if you have made a sale to me and I have not shown a purchase, what is going to happen? That particular credit is available to me. I will be claiming it later, isn't it? So here and also there will be a 1 month gap, 1 month window that we are going to provide for the reconciliation. 1 month window will be there. So this is how the return process will be there. Right now your thinking is that whether to allow the short payment or not. This is how the business process will be there. These are simple, no? Not difficult. Huh?
For return filing at the moment we have different periodicities in each and every act. You may not add.
No, I'll address. No, don't worry. Huh?
Now we have different periodicities. Say excise, we have a monthly periodicity. For service tax, we need to pay monthly but file a return on half-yearly basis. Maharashtra sales tax, we have different periodicities which are being hosted on the website. So under GST, would we have a combination of all, or would it be something similar to what we have in service tax?
No, not like service tax. Right now, all dealers will be required to file monthly returns.
Irrespective of their volume. Maharashtra permits only once.
We are trying to avoid that particular revision of returns. It's not required. No. Why do you want to revise? First of all, you try to list down what are the reasons why do you want to revise. See, revision is because you have undisclosed some sales, over-disclosed some sales. You can have an adjustment in the next month. You can show what we are thinking. We are listed down what are the reasons why the people are required to revise. So that particular window of redressing that particular mistake will be provided in the subsequent return annexures. You can have two types of annexure. I mean, we will have a sale annexure, that's what we discussed. We can have an annexure saying that anything that is changed for the previous month also. Wrongly, yeah? Huh? In the next subsequent month you can make the changes. See, the basically revision of return next, it loses the sanctity of a return. Whenever you are filing a return, income tax return, we take a due precaution in filing an income tax return, isn't it? The same precaution needs to be taken while filing a sales tax return. You know, but some credit debit note because it's a transaction between two traders. So we will be providing a separate space for that particular adjustment. We may not have to have that revision of return. And probably we will not allow the short payment of taxes also. Whatever is the tax liability, you will be required to discharge all of the liability. Okay?
We spoke about the 1% tax, and we also spoke about the taxability based on consideration. We eventually were speaking that branch transfers may not be subjected to any of the tax.
That is not being accepted yet. Huh?
No, I agree. But then, if that is accepted as a subsequent in considering the working capital problem in the industry may face, then are we indicating that we may still continue with the C-form declarations and F-form?
No. See, C-form is for the concessional rate of tax. Now I am levying extra 1%. Why you should be saying lie to me?
For the forms, F-forms for the...
No. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you will be not coming to my department for this harassment of getting C-forms and all that. So this is how the return filing process will be. I don't think there is a much of a change, is that barring this auto drafting part, because naturally there will be a
Same format will continue for the services also, for payment of service tax.
as far as the return is concerned, very right, good question. As far as the return is concerned, there will be only one return, single return, showing everything. For the goods as well as the services. You need not have to file two types of return, one for the CGST or one for the SGST or the state and the center. No, there will be a single return in which all the three types of liabilities will be disclosed, the CGST, SGST and IGST. Single return with single payment showing only three different heads. Okay? So one return, one payment. There will not be any multiplicity of the return. Secondly, is is there any cut-off dates and all that? That is going to change, so I will not discuss. Mismatching and all that is like today what we are doing. Okay. So this particular IGST model is going to be a very, very fundamental change as far as the GST is concerned. Any question about this? Because if you understood the model, there should not be any issues in that.
So registration, there will be one registration per state, or there will be concept of centralized registration as in case of service tax?
We were like EU has got OSS, they call it the one-stop shop. I mean, even though you have got businesses across the EU, you can register in one of them, and that particular state you can obtain the registration, and from that registration the information flows to other countries. But we are not in a position to grasp that particular, we are not in a position to digest right now to that type of OSS, that's called as the OSS. Right now the registration, if you are having a pan-India business, you will be required to have 30 type of registration. Registration number will be PAN-based, like first 2 digits will be a state code, followed by a PAN, followed by an entity code, followed by a check digit. So it will be a 15 number registration number. Every state has, as I said, the first 2 digits has to indicate the state code. So if you are having in different state, you will be naturally required to obtain the different registration for each of the state. Now, one facility that we will be providing is that you can obtain with a single application. If you want registration for the state of 5 states, and if you are sitting only in Maharashtra, their option will be provided whether you want to have a registration in different states also. That facility will be there. As far as the existing dealers are concerned, those who are registered under the excise or service tax or the value added tax, they did not have to obtain a different registration. All the information that is being available with the VAT department or service tax or the excise will be migrated to a portal called a GSTN network, GST network. That portal will be provided, anything that information will be displayed to you, saying this particular information that is being uploaded, what is the information that is you have submitted to a service tax department or a value added VAT department. Do you want to make any changes? You can edit that, barring the core fields. Right? You cannot change the place of business. I mean, if you change the place of business, you do not have to support with the valid document. But if you want to change the telephone number, you want to change the email ID, that things can be changed. And that from that available information, the GSTN number will be created. So, fundamental is that all the dealers, all the states should have a unique, not unique, it should have a PAN number of each and every firm. The Maharashtra, right from the day one, right from the day we introduced value added tax, we have said that without PAN we are not going to get the registration. So Maharashtra almost the work for migration of the data from the state portal or state system to the centralized system is almost can be done at any time. On the contrary, we are doing a pilot project with that work is being given assigned to NSDL, who is handling that shares and all the income tax also. So that particular data of Maharashtra is being given to NSDL, and they are working out any difficulties coming for that migration of data and creation of a GSTN. So as far as the existing dealers are concerned, they need not have to bother about the creation of the registration. The registration will be created based on their PAN. That is how the things will be, migration will be there.
Return will be per registration number, or you can file a consolidated return in all the states?
Per registration number.
Per registration.
Then the transactions will be different, no? So it will be per registration. So as far as the registration, the business process will be simple. The application. There is nothing called as central registration, state registration. If you want, you can have only GST number.
We are doing business in more than one state. We want to take only single registration.
Not allowed. Not allowed. You will be required to register in all. That is going to be a problem, I understand that.
Like for this tax,
That's what I said, because each state will having a power to levy tax on the services. They will be required to have a registration in each and every state. So there is nothing called as a centralized registration as existing in the service tax. Every state will be required to register.
audit part is also continuing in GST also. Right audit and all.
Sir, within state we have so many branches. Within state we have so many branches. In that case we have to
Good. That will be optional. Not very optional. Means what? Ki as on date in the state of Maharashtra, we are saying ki one pan, one team. Even though you have got 100 branches, you will be required to have only one registration. But we are slightly going to modify under GST. You will have an option to obtain more registration on a single pan. But that will be an option given to the commissioner saying ki he may or he may not. If you are too big, like L&T having a construction division, electrical division and all that, you can have 2 registration. But if you are running a Manjini shop and come to me and saying ki I have got 100 shops, allot me 100 registration, I am going to deny it. So that option, you can, within the state, you can have a multiple registration, but the option to whether to grant the registration or not will be with the commission. If it is only having a business verticals, then only we should grant.
VAT audit will continue.
VAT audit, yes, audit will be continued.
So transparency is there because they are going online. So is it necessary VAT audit?
VAT audit, what do you mean? You are talking about audit carried by our department or by CA? By CA. Huh? CMA also. You better ask them. Huh? Should be continued or not to be continued? So naturally your reaction will be continued. No? So basically try to understand this. See, why the concept of this particular audit has come? Because we are outsourced. The department cannot do it and not do it in the professional manner. So that's why it is being assigned to CAs and ICWS and all that.
So it's like a double taxation. We assess 2 times. One from VAT auditor and second time from tax authority.
But tax authority, I mean, to my department, that is not exceeding 2% or 3% of the dealers. We are not continuing with the old-fashioned assessment procedure where everybody is called for the assessment, carrying the books of accounts. Moreover, the things are going to change. So that will be basically very issue-based audit. LTUs, yes, that also will be thinking of doing something for that based on the issues. So it will be issue based. And once the CS or ICW is certified, I don't think our people are in a position to find much more than that. Unless and until you people only say that this is what is payable, then naturally the department should say at least pay it now. Ask to pay what you can call it as. Right? So probably, not probably, this VAT audit by this thing. Professionals will continue. VAT audit by the department will also continue. There has to be a tax administration has to have some control over the taxpayer. So administration will not give their pause. That's all. They will be called as the GST department. Department will be there. Sales tax department will be called as GST department, SGST department, excise department will be called as the CGST department. So are you proposing for a one national tax, NTA, National Tax Authority? The things are far too far. You fundamentally try to understand that India is a federal structure where Constitution has given assigned some some of the basic duties to the state, some of the basic duties are assigned to the central. There is a fiscal autonomy to each of the state, considering depending on the requirement of each and every state. If anything, then we have got a federal structure, some parties ruling at the center, some different parties ruling in the state. I mean, there are political equations, everything will, if you grant everything to be collected at a center, then naturally there will be a lot of opposition for this thing. So naturally there will not be any.
Both the taxes merged, cell tax and excise, then how department will work on place? So different department can work. Cell tax department, excise department.
Both will work simultaneously right now what they are doing. Let them give some time to settle. So place of supply, are there people from the service industry also?
Yes.
So place of supply has its most difficult part of it. The supply to a registered person shall be the state of state recipient. It will be as destination based, so it will be always a place of recipient. Non-registered dealer, it will be a place of service provider. There will be an exception to this generalized rule. The services having an access to the immovable property, the state in which the property is being located. Performance based, wherever the performance has taken place. Relating to events, where the events are actually held. Goods transportation, the location of a service receiver. Goods transportation unregistered, where then the goods are being loaded or handed over for the transportation. Passenger, where the passenger starts his journey. On board, naturally the first schedule point of the departure. Telecom service, fixed line, where the fixed line is provided. Postpaid mobile, state of address of the service provider. The state of prepaid, vouchers where the payment is received. Broadcast, this is very difficult, each state in proportion to the amount attributable to the service provided. Broadcast services are the registered service receiver. These are some of the exceptions, but the general rule is the place of supply is where the service recipient is located as far as the registered. So B2B, everything will flow to the service recipient. As far as B2C is concerned, what we are trying to say is basically B2C is where the location of the service provider is there. So because since you are not doing it. But there are exceptions to these particular services. That whenever B2B or whatever, wherever the service, even though the B2B, as far as the construction activity or the real estate is concerned, it is the location of that particular construction activity where the property of this is concerned.
What's contract service tax say after the entry of the composite contract.
Composite contracts.
Composite contract.
It will be abolished. No? There is nothing there. Why the composition is provided? Because right now there is a distinction between the goods and services. Tomorrow everything will be valuable.
So basically we are just watching and suffering.
Huh?
We are consuming the watching and suffering. In the relation is very, very wrong. That is how
No, see, basically what is happening right now. Right, you are right. What is happening right now, as far as the value added, why this composition is being given? Because we know that particular whenever we are having that first contract or the composite contract is being done, it involves two parts. One is the supply of goods, one is the supply of services. That's why we call it a composite contract. So whenever tomorrow there will not be any distinction between the supply of goods or the supply of goods. So the total composite price will be charged for GST. But the same thing will be applicable for the value added. Sorry, it will be a VAT thing. Right? So today what we are doing is some part is under the VAT and some part, when they give the what do you call some part of it, 30% or 40%, they charge the service tax. So tomorrow everything will be on par.
So presently we are not getting any benefit. That benefit is nothing because we are going to pay that. Pay the opposite tax is there.
Service tax.
Yeah, service tax is bad also. Suppose GST comes, then we have to take out all the things and we have to take benefit of that.
Yes.
So that is available.
So competition dealer today is denied of the input tax credit. There will not be nothing but the competition as far as the composite contracts are concerned. Everything will be valued.
Sorry to interrupt. We'll just take a few seconds. We'll have a quick takeaway session where you can also ask some last questions because we are almost down to the question and answer. May I also request the faculties for today's workshop, Shri Vimal Jain session with Mr. Bhagat, and questions seem to be endless. May I take this opportunity to felicitate our Honorable President of the Institute who has graced this occasion. So I request CMA Devashish Mitra, the WRC Chairman, to felicitate the Honorable President. Give him a memento, please.
Deputy Dr. Ryan, Chairman, WRC, Mr. Bhagat, Past President of the Institute, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Naval, my colleague in the council, Mr. Vimal Jain, and Mr. Sriram Mankaliwan. I am happy that our council has taken a number of steps and each committee is functioning very well. Yesterday we have uploaded 4 past auditing standards with the approval of central government. Again, we are going to prepare 15 standards by 31st March. This is as per directive given by the Minister of Corporate Affairs. Similarly, we are organizing number of seminars on GST along with religion chapter and industry association, Indian Chamber of Commerce, Associate, CII. Again, we have to tie up with TT, then all the major 4 industry associations will be covered. And there is a active participation from all CMS in this seminar. And thanks to the WRC and our taxation committee chairman Mr. Naval for organizing this seminar in Mumbai under the banner of Institute and WRC along with the Chamber of Commerce. I thanks to the speakers and the organizers for bringing the bureaucrats or seminar so that our views also be communicated to them and they will have looked into the suggestion given by the members by drafting the rules and implementing it. I am thankful to the WRC for giving me the opportunity and I wish our approach will take a proper shape for development of profession. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll have few last questions, maybe a couple of questions before we wind up the session with a vote of thanks. So participants and delegates can take up some few questions to all the faculty members over here.
Sir, under the current Maharashtra mechanism, we do have facilities like the DDQ or facilities like the rate inquiry, rate query. Now, what happens to these DDQs
that is being hotly debated right now. I mean, we have been discussing in how this particular issue of appellate needs to be resolved, because there will be two appellate sides. Like one, you forget about the other state. Within the same state, you will have two different authorities. No, see, basically GST will be on the same transaction. There will be limit to one will be CGST, one will be AGST. And if some dispute comes, where I should approach? Whether I should approach that particular, whether I should have an appeal against that particular tax, against the state also, against the center also. And what will happen if the state gives a different verdict and the center gives a different verdict? That things are getting sorted out. So what we are thinking is splitting the difference. Like up to 1.5 crore. There will be a total state jurisdiction. 1.5 crore turnover. So whatever, if your turnover is below 1.5 crore, there will be a total state's jurisdiction. Above 1.5 crore, there will be a dual authority. Only on the above 1.5 crore. In that also, what we are thinking of splitting that vertically, so that for the 3 years that particular dealer will be handled by one of the others. So your question will be, to an extent, will be answered because there will be one authority for short timing also. If that proposal is not being accepted, I am saying only it's a proposal. There is no vertical split. Let's imagine a scenario, there is no vertical split. If your turnover is above 1.5 crore and you are being faced with two authorities, there will be two orders. One is allowing this, second is disallowing. It's going to be a problem. But give me 3 to 4 months, we'll try to come with a concrete answer to it. Right now, we have understood your problem.
Sir, my question is that the warning from the officer had raised this question that if the state, the center is compensating the state for the losses for the revenues of 5 years, then why do we have this additional one tax levy on the state?
So, you provided me an answer that we should ask for the compensation after 5 years. See, I'll explain you. Logic behind my demand. But if I continue to get 1% of the tax, and both, as he said, in consideration word has been added, I hope it is not being added. So what will be there? I can start levying 1% on the sale, interstate sale also, interstate branch transfer, what right now I am not doing. So that particular revenue will be secured. If I secure that revenue, center will not have to compensate me. If center doesn't have to compensate me, as long as the provision of 1% is there is no loss to the center. So when I really need to have to get compensated after abolition of 1%. So you have provided me an answer to that solution that I should start demanding the compensation after abolition of 1%.
My question is that if we are having the 5 years compensation, why is that 1% still there? Why
See,
can't
it
we
is
just have
center of the states, not our money only, as a being a consumer. So if the center, how the center is going to compensate? Center is also levying a tax on you and me only, no? So if the center is going to pay to the state, how the center is going to get the money? Only center do have the printing press, they can print the notes, that's all. I mean, that is all the biggest advantage the center is having. But the center will also start levying the taxes only, they will also compensate from the state. 1%, I do agree it's not jailing properly, but for the time being, let's hope it will not last more than 2 years.
Just a minute. Sir, one point I want to draw your concern. Just 1% in a supply chain, if they are there, then time 1% would be levied. That will create a cascading of 4% of the bill. That is a big concern for the trade which we are discussing about.
Very good. It's like CST that is getting going. It's nothing but a CST continued with 4%. Isn't it? The CST continued with 1%. Now bear with 2 years. This is not a big period.
and also after the bill is approved by Rajya Sabha, it is supposed to be ratified by 50% But if they still, after the 1 year, if they do not take up the GST, will it be compulsorily be imposed? Compulsorily.
The entry will go.
Do you have any more questions? Maybe two last questions, please.
Yeah, my question pertains to the EF zones currently, Sikkim, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. So there was a notification or some statement that no new exemptions will be granted, but all the exemptions which are there will continue up till the time they lapse. So in view of this, will this be continued under GST or will it be a level playing field across India?
It will be converted to cash refund scheme.
Okay. And like currently the model which we are following is like all the warehouses are outside the states as Jaipur is up, and then we have CRS in each location. So it's a two-way inter transfers. So what could be a good strategy? Directly supplying from the manufacturing state to the respective states, keeping in mind freight cost is say optimum. Because 2 legs of transfer will have that 1% additional burden. So will it be a good strategy to directly?
You want to do a proper impact analysis.
No, but stock transfer will not be lineable to 1% as per the select panel recommendation, which are missing out in your observation.
Only supplier because
And one last question.
Yes, please, carry on.
So, as you mentioned during your session that there will be a new department like the GST department which will be established. So what will be the fate of the appeals which are underlying under the sales tax, the VAT appeal?
Every new act that comes into existence, you have two sections called as the repeals. Whatever the existing law is getting repealed, and savings, like something called as savings. Whatever the proceedings that are happening in the repealed act get saved. So whatever the proceedings under the assessment, recovery, appeals will continue. Like DST also we are having right now. After 10 years also we are not in a position to finish the DST. So that will continue. That will continue.
So it will continue under the new GST.
Probably we'll have some different set of people assigned to look after that particular.
Thank you. We
will definitely accept another more questions in the next sessions when WRC will organize some more sessions on GST. And I am assuring you on behalf of WRC that definitely the WRC will organize more and more seminar, conference, workshops on GST.
There is only one small question which we may answer within 10 seconds. Sir, when we talk of uniform classification, are we saying that there will be one rate schedule for the country as a whole, which will be applicable for HSN? So the current disputes which are going on will be put at rest. For instance, this budget, Maharashtra budget, we came out with the category of LED bulbs to promote saving of electricity. Unfortunately, the category came out as LED bulbs. Now the industry perception is bulb money round. So only bulb is 5%, whereas those LED panel lights, those have to be taxed at the higher rate.
But fortunately, unfortunately, I was the person who drafted that. So basically, that is why I asked the person who had made the application. The application was made by Philips. I called that technical person. He wanted that type of a concession only. I precisely asked him the question whether you are representing the whole of the market. He said yes. I don't know. I mean, that is how so tax administration or the people like me who are sitting the other side. You can't expect to have knowledge about the market. We always depend on what is being represented before us. So that's what precisely we asked the Philips was the only Philips only represented that.
See, similar issue was also taken in the services meeting on 10th of July. Sir, why these LED are not manufactured in India?
We can represent in the next budget. That's what I can say.
We have completely run out of time. I'm sorry because some members also need to catch flights. So may I now request Sriram, CNA Sriram in Mahan Aliwal, the Honorary Secretary of the WRC, to offer a vote of thanks for the day's proceedings.
On behalf of WRC, I extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to the dignitaries. Today we have
during our inaugural session. Shri Sudhirji Srivastava, Additional Chief Secretary Finance, Government of Maharashtra. Shri Rajendraji Bhagat, Joint Secretary, Government of Maharashtra. All the speakers for the day's deliberations, Shri Bimalji Jain, Shri A.P. Naval sir, Shri B.M. Sharma sir, and our participating partner, PhD Chamber of Commerce, along with the staff and the courtesy of all the extended by the IMC Mumbai, and also I sincerely thank our National President Shri P.V. Bhattat sir for coming over here in the controlling session, and I lastly thank all the members and participants and all the delegates who have attended this workshop. I request all of you to kindly stand up for the national anthem. Thank you.
भारत माता की